Now there's an objection to us from the Sunnis. They say, well, the Quran says that Ibrahim's father was mushrik. The Quran says Ibrahim's father, Azar, initially, Ibrahim promised him that if you follow the right path and you worship God and you distance yourself from the idols, I will do istighfar for you. I will do forgiveness. But then when it became clear to him that he was insisting on worshiping the idols, he condemned him. He condemned him in the sense that he distanced himself from him. And the Quran says that he was a mushrik. So see, we have a verse in the Quran that the father of Ibrahim, now the father of Ibrahim is also the grandfather of who? The Prophet, right? Because the Prophet comes from that lineage. The Prophet is a descendant of Ibrahim. So if the father of Ibrahim, according to the Quran, was a mushrik, there you have a great-great-grandfather of the Prophet who was mushrik. So they're objecting to us and say, okay, there's proof from the Quran. So why do you make it seem as if, this is so outrageous when the Quran actually speaks about it? What is the answer to that? The answer to that, Azar, as the Quran mentions him, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لَأَبِيهِ Azar. The Quran says when Ibrahim said to his father Azar. Azar was not the biological father of Ibrahim. He was either his uncle, according to most historical traditions, or some weak traditions say he was his maternal grandfather. So it wasn't his direct grandfather, his maternal grandfather. It was not his direct grandfather. That's fine. If one of your maternal grandfathers, for example, is, not a believer, that's not an issue. They don't all of them have to be believers. But your direct fathers and grandfathers have to be believers. So, historical accounts tell us that Azar was his uncle. He was his stepfather. The name of the father of Ibrahim was Taruch, not Azar. His name was Taruch. Now, because he died when Ibrahim was young, who took care of him? He grew up in the care of his uncle Azar. And that's why the Quran calls him Ab, father, because he took care of him. And in Arabic, the one who takes care of you, like your stepfather or your uncle, we call him father. So he was not his father, he was actually his uncle. That's our first rebuttal. Number two, and this is a very strong one, we see that in Surah Ibrahim, verse 42, Ibrahim, when he would have that discussion with his uncle Azar, it was when he was young, when his youth, because he was taking care of him. He was young. Let's say a teenager and then in his 20s probably. Surah Ibrahim, verse 42, talks about Ibrahim in his old age, after he had Ismail and Ishaq. In Surah Ibrahim, verse 42, he makes a dua. He makes a prayer. What does that prayer say? رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. See, initially he promised his uncle, Azar, that I'll do istighfar for you. I'll ask God to forgive you. When it became clear to him that he is insisting on his disbelief, Allah told Ibrahim, you cannot do istighfar for him anymore. Because now he's rejecting the truth. So Ibrahim stopped. According to the Quran, Ibrahim stopped doing istighfar for his uncle Azar. Now at the end of his life, Ibrahim is doing the dua, oh Allah, Allahumma ghfirli, have forgiveness on me and my biological parents. See, when the Quran refers to Azar, it uses the word ab, father. Father is general. In fact, the hadith says your teacher is also your father. Your father-in-law is also your father, symbolically. Ibrahim, when he does this dua for his parents, he doesn't say my father, لأبوي. He says walidayya. The word walid in Arabic is only used to refer to your biological father. Because technically walid means the one who gives birth. Walida is my mother who gave birth to me, and my father, the walid, is the one who gave birth to me because he's my father. He was the cause of my birth. So Ibrahim does istighfar for his parents. But wait, if Azar was mushrik and he was his father, how did he do istighfar? This tells you that his walid, his biological father, was mu'min, was a believer, and hence he did istighfar. Because the Quran prohibited Ibrahim from doing istighfar to that other father, which is his uncle. So the ancestors of the Prophet, his direct ancestors, they were actually pure individuals who believed in God. Now you